And now here on Trevor 2, it's highlights of this afternoon's British Grand Prix, introduced by Trevor Walker. Well, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. As always at Silverstone, always a lovely occasion and one of the highlights of the Grand Prix circuit. A lot of drivers love this track, the former RAF field, which has turned into an absolute legendary circuit here in the heart of Northamptonshire. It's 5.8 kilometres and it's 18 turns. An incredibly difficult track for these drivers to negotiate, but a very popular one and a very fast one. There's always a lot of good, hard-fought, fast racing that takes place within the Grand Prix season. A reminder of where we are in this season. This is round 5. We've been to Australia, China, Monaco and Canada, and we're up to the old-fashioned point scoring system. So first place will get you 10 points, not 25, and vice versa. Qualifying yesterday was an absolute disaster for Lewis Hamilton. It threw down with rain, and as he made himself down the hanger straights, he somehow had a technical fault, lost control of the car, and ended up having quite a heavy crash. Thankfully, Lewis Hamilton was okay, and on the replays you can see here he just locks up, loses control of the car, skates off, and the damage was severe. But somehow the engineers have worked absolute wonders, and Hamilton will start this Grand Prix. He's just going to start it, sadly, from the back of the grids. The FIA here with that safety car that was expecting to get a lot of use, but the sun and the weather has come out overnight and it's cleared up, and it's an absolutely wonderful setting at the moment. Lewis Hamilton knows he's got a tall ask to maintain his lead in the championship. Mercedes, though, have an 11-point lead over the nearest rivals, Red Bull, who indeed have an 9-point lead over Red Bull. This is where it's all set and the drivers are getting ready, so it's only fair that we go ahead and take a look at the lineups for the grid here for the 2020 British Grand Prix. And here are the lineups of how they will start on the grid. A wonderful performance in the wet by Max Verstappen, beats Valtteri Bottas into second place. Along from there, Vettel gets in third, and he's ahead of Charles Leclerc, that's in fourth place. Ricciardo takes fifth for Renault and Aston Martin. Red Bull Alex Albon takes sixth. Lando Norris in the Ferrari is seventh, as is his partner Carlos Sainz, who is in ninth. Pierre Gasly is beaten by Kimi Raikkonen to 13th and 14th. George Russell in the Williams is 18th, and Lewis Hamilton, with no time, is 18th. So here we go, the British Grand Prix of 2020 is go, 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 go! Great start by Bottas, he's got ahead of Vettel, Verstappen and Leclerc, and fourth and fifth going in, and I think it's absolutely neck and neck between those two drivers. Leclerc, I think, has just knocked through and got past Verstappen, so Bottas leads the British Grand Prix. Verstappen, Leclerc and Vettel are still fighting between second, third and fourth, respectively, between them. However, we're going to follow the battle with Lewis Hamilton, who is in last place. So he's got 13 laps at Silverstone to try and find his way through to the top. Does he have enough to do so? Well, he's got past Latifi straight away. So Lewis Hamilton is off to a very good start. The Haas there of Magnussen is next ahead of him. That is a tall order where we stand at the moment. Grosjean is in 17th. So reminder of the top 6 in this Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas is first. Max Verstappen is 7th. Charles Leclerc is 3rd. Sebastian Vettel is 4th. Alex Albon is 5th. And Sebastian Ocon is 6th in the Renault. Lewis Hamilton is chasing down Magnussen here as they find their ways through Maggots and Beckett's. And they will go and hang left and go down the hanger straight for the very first time. There is no DRS at this point, and Hamilton's Mercedes has got more than enough power to get past Magnussen. They will break right in this long sweeping right-hander before they head through the cobs, and then he will have Sebastian Grosjean ahead of him. So Lewis Hamilton, and the opening lap times are now coming through, and Valtteri Bottas, no surprise, set the fastest lap. Remember, fastest lap you can always see in the top left of your screen. That little clock time indicates who is setting the fastest time in this Grand Prix at the moment. As Hamilton gets himself by Grosjean and brakes heavily and late through to Farm and is able to get past Russell. So Lewis Hamilton now is up to 16th. And Giovinazzi is ahead of him, and Hamilton is catching him at some pace as they are down the Wellington Straight at Silverstone. 2 laps of 13. This is the second lap. It is a long way to go in this Grand Prix for Hamilton, but he's shown fantastic pace. Remember, he had that qualifying accident, which meant he didn't even register in time, but was allowed to start from the back of the grid. And the mechanics here at the Mercedes garage has done a wonderful job as they've come to get this car up and running and fit for purpose, and indeed it is. And it just slightly twitched as they go again and once through Maggots and Beckett's. They'll brake heavily and take slower. That's just a wonderful shot. So you see these cars flying through. Hamilton taking a slightly wider line through Beckett's. DRS is still not open yet, but he's bearing down on Daniel Kvyat in the other AlphaTauri as he looks to try and find his way through the back markers as you're watching the British Grand Prix here on Trevor Sports, and this is live, and we're looking forward to more of this sort of racing in the future. Mercedes, of course, of Lewis Hamilton is in the black livery brought in the Black Lives Matters movement, and very popular, very beautiful. I do have to say that car is looking beautiful. Maneuver by Lewis Hamilton to get past Kvyat seemed almost inevitable, as is the way he's able to outbrake Kimi Raikkonen through to the farm section in the other Alfa Romeo. So Hamilton now is up to 13th. Pierre Gasly is ahead of him in 12th. Just about 3/10 of the second. Hamilton should be able to pass him. Yes, he is down the Wellington Straight. So now it puts him behind Sergio Perez of the Racing Point team, soon to be renamed Aston Martin, and that seat is soon to be taken. So Sebastian Vettel, as Hamilton just loses and outbreaks the position and is overtaken by Pierre Gasly, but the power that Mercedes engine has means he should have enough. Just a slight lift off as they go. And the right hand, they're around about 180 mile an hour. And we'll follow Lewis Hamilton as he's chasing down Sergio Perez in the Racing Point. This battle for this midfield, it goes in. Always a wide line coming through Beckett's and then into the hanger straight. And now is the opportunity because DRS is enabled. The first 2 laps are completed and the racing is on the way. So it's on its key moment here in the Grand Prix. Hamilton is 12th, Perez is 11th. A reminder of where we stand in the top. Valtteri Bottas here is opening up a gap on Sebastian Vettel, just about 2.8 seconds, and Leclerc and Vettel in the Ferraris is sitting behind. Albon is 5th and Ocon is 6th. Those are the point scorers as things stand at the moment. Lewis Hamilton is getting himself slowly but surely into the game. What's that contact? It's Lewis Hamilton down. He looks to have taken a slight knock there. Hamilton has taken a knock from Norris and he's able to just use it to sneak past, get past Perez again. Is there damage to Lewis Hamilton's car? The connection on the left, it looks like to be on the frame. It wasn't anything to do with suspension. And is the aerodynamics affected? That'll be the worry that the Mercedes will be doing. And now this is Hamilton trying to get past Norris again. I'm sure he'll be desperately annoyed of something like that, Lewis Hamilton. And now Hamilton has Norris half a second, 5/10 of a second, but this Mercedes at the moment is absolutely flying. We're on lap 4 of 13 this afternoon at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. Here is Hamilton, just picking up pace, getting himself moving. Lewis going through now. This will be the big opportunity, these cars. The grip themselves is absolutely magnificent on these cars, so they really do absolutely hug the road, and Lewis Hamilton is going to brake and send one. Brakes ready late. It wasn't quite enough. Norris had the better racing line, so was able to hold position. Now means Lewis Hamilton will sit right behind Lando Norris in the McLaren. Mercedes based in Brackley, so they're not far from this. The McLaren's based in Woking down in Surrey. And Lewis Hamilton again brakes really heavily, goes past quite a few drivers, and I think he collided with Esteban Ocon. So Hamilton is down in 9th, and well, what happened there? What happened there? Well, it's, hopefully there's not any sort of major damage that's come in. Carlos Sainz Jr. is ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the number 44. The silver arrow that's now the black arrow for this season. 5 of 13. Leader is still Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen has been passed by Vettel and Leclerc. So it's Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, Renault making up the top 7. Hamilton is in 9th. So Carlos Sainz in the McLaren, and then he's got to get past the manufacturers, if you like, the last of the mid-table cars, as many people would see it. He's got the Renaults, who are in good form. And Ricciardo is able to get past Sebastian Ocon, and he is still 3.5 seconds or so, sitting behind Alex Albon. Lewis Hamilton, nice and carefully, nice and does it, runs wide. I wonder if the stewards may decide to penalise Hamilton for going wide. We'll have to wait and see for the race director if Lewis Hamilton is able to keep this position, but this is where Hamilton is so powerful, breaking into the farm section. 8th place, and we're coming round to just about halfway, almost, of this Grand Prix. And Hamilton squeezed himself past Ocon into the Wellington Straight. And now in his sights is Daniel Ricciardo. And so far, Lewis Hamilton is driving like he's a man absolutely possessed at the moment. Wonderful stuff. So, let's see what happens going further. Lewis Hamilton with it all to do, a lead in the championship. And I'm sure his rivals will be hoping. The nearest ones to him, two Ferraris, but at the moment they can get nowhere near Bottas. Hamilton, on the other hand, is getting very close to Daniel Ricciardo and putting him in a point-scoring position. Wonderful camera shot. We're watching the Mercedes glide through Maggots and Beckett's. The power on, hanger straight, the former RAF takeoff site that Silverstone was, the airport that it is. Here goes Hamilton sitting right behind. They'll brake very heavily, little dab of brace into the right, clip the apex. How close is Hamilton? He's standing right behind Ricciardo. Feints one way, goes the other. Will brake heavily, and will he have enough to hold the position? No, he won't. That's good defending from Daniel Ricciardo, but I don't know how long Ricciardo is able to defend this. As Hamilton again runs wide and goes past again. I really think Lewis has got to be careful from this situation and this sort of manoeuvres here. Lewis Hamilton could be punishable. And in time he has been punished before, but if we'll remain to see if the stewards don't do anything. But at the moment, as we're seeing things, Hamilton is in the points. He's 6th, and he's got a long way here to chase down Bottas. We're expecting the cars to start to pit. A one-stop strategy should be the norm for today. We're expecting that should take us through quite possibly to the end of the Grand Prix. Hamilton, they're just running wide, but just able to hang on. Now, this could be very good fun, because Lewis here has really got to put some times in. Bottas is still set the fastest time in the Grand Prix thus far, so nobody's been able to beat Bottas for the fastest lap. Lewis will know that in order to chase him down and to get a win, and this is starting to remind me a little bit of the great 1987 Silverstone Grand Prix. If you don't remember that, Nigel Mansell was leading comfortably from his teammate Nelson Piquet in the Williams Hondas. This was the days of the turbos. Back when Silverstone itself, you only actually really needed to brake twice. Everywhere on the track you could just lift off, and look at the damage you can see from the collision that Hamilton had with Ocon. I wonder if that will affect him. But Lewis Hamilton is trying to reenact what Mansell did that day, as Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest time, and Hamilton there go ahead and sets the fastest time still. So Hamilton is setting fast and fast times. And that's what Mansell did that afternoon. He broke the lap record repeatedly after having to come in for tyres late in the race, and was able to go ahead and use his willpower. He said he absolutely fed on for the crowd that day, and that's what drove him through. And as the cars will brake, they will be doing 190 miles an hour before they arrive into Brooklyn. So what does Hamilton do here? Does he try and stay out and get the most from these soft tyres? Does he try and get the absolute most possible and go deep into the race to get past the traffic in the pits? As the race comes out, and it's worked out at the moment, but if Hamilton can put in a quick lap and he's looked after the tyres enough, that'll be the case. He's got Alex Albon ahead of him, but Albon is just about under now. He's probably just about 7/10 of a second in the lead. So Hamilton will be hoping that the dirty air doesn't damage his tyres too much, and that has been more of the case as we have seen this season. But the DRS has allowed Hamilton here to make up 3/10 of a second. As the two cars will go, it'll be the penultimate corner just coming up, that big braking left and then into the right, and then they'll go through to the start-finish straight, which is right on the final corner. Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc has gone 134.3, and Hamilton has gone beaten that now. Did Lewis Hamilton, was that a collision? Is that a part of his car which is damaged from the collision with Alex Albon? Will have to remains to be seen if Lewis Hamilton's car all right. It is a very, very dangerous move to make, and not one I would have recommended Lewis Hamilton making. Is there any damage to his car? I'm searching for the front of it. I can't see anything. I think if there was damage, it's come from the car he collided with. It's come from Albon's. So after all that and the pace Lewis Hamilton has shown, he's worked his way up with no pit stop into second place. But Bottas incredibly also has not pitted, and he has a 7-second lead. Is that going to be enough by the time Bottas comes in his pits? Now, I wonder if Lewis Hamilton does have damage to his car at the moment. He's just struggled, and is the car going to be okay? He'll probably want to pit very shortly. The pace, though, he's producing is absolutely electric at the moment. Top-class stuff here from Lewis Hamilton. Pit stop opportunity may be coming up very soon. Hamilton leads from Albon, Ocon, Raikkonen and Leclerc, because neither have pitted. Now Hamilton will come into the pits, and Albon will follow him in. Bottas is staying out, so it'll be interesting to see what time Bottas can do. If he can set a hugely quick time, that might just be enough. Let's watch Lewis's pit stop. Changing and going for the harder compound tyres and getting ahead of Albon. So that's really good work by the pit crew. Hamilton has not held up, so that is a relatively good stop. And this new redesigned pit entry the cars go through. So we're watching who's coming through ahead of him. Charles Leclerc has looks like he's gone through, and so is Vettel. As Verstappen coming in. No! Lewis has got ahead of Verstappen, so 4th place for Lewis Hamilton. Brilliantly done by the Englishman. It takes Hamilton into 4th place. It keeps him in the Grand Prix, but it does mean he's about 31, 32 seconds ahead of Bottas, and Hamilton's is going to make quick work, I think, down the Wellington Straight and getting past Sebastian Vettel, and Hamilton will now chase down Charles Leclerc. 4/10 of the seconds in this, so this is not very close. Lap 10 of 13, so we have 3 laps to go, and if I've said it before, I'll say it again. Catching somebody is one thing, passing them is entirely entirely something different. This is the challenge that Lewis has. Charles Leclerc, an enormously talented Polynesian. Can he hold off Lewis Hamilton and take a well-deserved second place? As the point scoring goes, it will be 10 for Bottas, 6 for Leclerc, 4 for Hamilton. Hamilton will remain leader of the World Championship with whatever happens today. The question is, will this be enough for him to keep going? But I'm sure Lewis will be not happy with it. He'll want to win the Grand Prix. He'll want to win for his home crowds. Always seems to bring the absolute best out of him, Silverstone. And the conditions it has to be safe for racing are absolutely perfect. I don't think they could be any better than they are at the moment. Hamilton now has an important task and an important moment, and oh! Was there a collision? Hamilton braked too late, and Leclerc's getting, and Hamilton almost passed him and didn't. This is absolutely line by line, and two here will go round and out into the Wellington Straight. DRS is open. Does Lewis Hamilton have enough to get past Charles Leclerc and get through? He doesn't. He doesn't, and this race keeps going in. He goes round, and Hamilton's done it! Now, I've seen something fly off the car. There's damage to Hamilton's front wing. Damage to the front wing. Oh my word, Lewis Hamilton, damage to the front wing. 2 laps to go, and he's got 4 seconds to chase down in a damaged car. He's got damage here to the left side panel, probably something to the underskirts. He's got something missing, probably that lip off the front wing. It now means Lewis Hamilton has it all to do. A wonderful area shot. Can he chase down Bottas? Bottas is running slow. Lewis Hamilton, the adrenaline must be absolutely firing and pumping through his veins, and he's feeding at the moment off the crowd this afternoon at Silverstone. They're cheering him through. Hamilton will come round, will brake heavily into the final section and final few turns to come round and start his 12th lap of 13. 2 laps to go here at Silverstone. Hamilton flies through the start-finish straight, fastest lap holder, so nobody at the moment has been able to get near Hamilton, who has been at an absolutely breakneck pace. Bottas, and the gap is falling ever so slowly. Hamilton is just starting to get behind him. Can Lewis Hamilton bring the gap up? He's just outside of the DRS range, which is going to make being able to on these 2 faster straights, particularly this one, the Wellington Straight, is outside DRS, so he will be unable to maximise the full capacity and gain. And we've seen Lewis Hamilton gain anything from 2 to 5 tenths of a second just on those elusive straights with DRS open. It just shows you how brilliant this Mercedes is running at the moment. But the Mercedes has it all to do from this point. Giovinazzi is out. Might have missed that earlier on. Humble apologies, but we are following an absolutely brilliant Grand Prix. The entire crowd is estimated that 150,000 people will be here over the weekend. Potentially 100,000 people trackside and in the stands and camping and watching, and many millions of you glued to your TVs watching this moment. Hamilton trying to chase down Valtteri Bottas. He's given it absolutely everything, and can he put together the perfect lap and bring himself into a position in which he is right behind? So this is it, the final lap of the Grand Prix. Hamilton has got the gap down, and I reckon he's got it down to about 1.8 seconds, there or thereabouts. Isn't enough for Hamilton to go through. This is a section where Lewis Hamilton's been able to get great point up, through farm, brakes right, and then he'll go ahead and still dab with the brakes, hang left, and then they will speed up to fly down the Wellington Straight, 185 to 190 mile an hour. Does Hamilton have enough on DRS? He still doesn't. He still doesn't have enough on DRS. He does though have enough old-fashioned mechanical drag, and that's allowing him to pull up to Valtteri Bottas. And Hamilton really, at the moment, has brought himself right behind Valtteri Bottas. And Lewis Hamilton, can he find the position to pass Bottas? The final lap of the British Grand Prix. Hamilton right beside. Is he going to wait and try for the hanger straight? Has he got enough to stay where Bottas is through maggots and Beckett's? Bottas knows he's got to drive the next through corners, the next 30 seconds of his life to hold off on Lewis Hamilton, who is inspired and desired to try and win this. Hamilton's had a poor maggots and Beckett's down the hanger straight. Does he have enough to get past Bottas? He doesn't at the moment. Bottas has got just enough. Can he hold him off? The penultimate corner to come. Will Lewis Hamilton just send one? Lewis Hamilton sending one! Lewis Hamilton has done it! He leads! Does he have enough to hold off? He's holding the line! Final corner! Incredible! Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix by 4/10 of a second! That is the most amazing finale to a Grand Prix I've ever seen. Hamilton from last has chased down everybody and comes through to beat his teammate and takes the Grand Prix, and an incredible win. Oh, Tito Wolff is absolutely made up. He may have hoped that Bottas would have gone on, but in all truth today, this is Lewis Hamilton's day. He has been absolutely incredible, and this is all set. A race winner for Hamilton in the Mercedes, and I don't think victories will come any sweeter. His engineers delighted and delirious with a brilliant drive, as we see Daniel Kvyat in the AlphaTauri go and set up in 14th. Well, it's Lewis's day. He'll take the podium. He'll take it proudly. Bottas was second. Charles Leclerc is first. Lewis does it. And I don't think race wins will come any sweeter than that. Valtteri Bottas, a good sport, it has to be said, but Lewis today was exceptional. That was perhaps the greatest drive Lewis has ever produced. Well, in the most extraordinary Grand Prix we've seen at Silverstone for a long time, Lewis Hamilton wins by overtaking Valtteri Bottas on the penultimate corner. 5/10 of a second separated these two. That was absolutely extraordinary. The Ferraris came in at 3rd and 4th, so Leclerc beats Sebastian Vettel. Max Verstappen comes in, Felix Albon. It's Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull making up the top 6. Well, Lewis Hamilton is able to extend his lead again. It's a 25-point margin. We're halfway through the season. Is Lewis Hamilton going to get that elusive 7th championship and go align with Michael Schumacher? Vettel, Verstappen, Albon and Bottas are all close behind. None really able to challenge him, nor is Charles Leclerc. The only other point scorers this season are Norris, Ocon and Sergio Perez. But for Lewis Hamilton, be hard-pressed to lose the Drivers' Championship from this point. From a constructor's standpoint, Mercedes are romping away with it. They're flying away. The battle is obviously between Red Bull and Ferrari. Those are the only 3 constructors that score points this weekend. It was an absolutely brilliant Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton winning it on the penultimate corner. I guess you have to tune in to see if things get any more dramatic than that. And if they do, you will see it here on Grand Prix. From all of us, thank you very much for watching. You have yourself a lovely rest of the day, and we'll see you again very soon when we're in Belgium. Good night.